Hey everyone, we're here. It's podcast time. Let's uh let's start with intro with people's stuff. Heather, tell me about your stuff.
I like how you were all prepared for that intro and then you just went,
Yeah, like I said, I'm a spaz. Deal with it. It's
Yeah,
part of the
but
charm.
Heather, the adorably happy this week because I'm tired of not being perky. So I thought if I added an extra name, I would look much friendlier and happier
When
this
were
week.
you not perky ever?
Oh, you guys don't see me during the week. So,
Okay.
sometimes I'm not perky. Sometimes I'm cranky. I know. Okay, well, we won't talk about that. So
Yeah.
anyway,
We'll
anyway,
have to ask Todd about that.
I just wanted to, you guys, okay, you know our friend Andy that does photography
Yes.
Yes.
asked me to make him a gnome. So I made him a new gnome and he named him
Sweet.
Ansel. Ansel, the photographer. So anyway, I was pretty excited to get that done. That was a lot of fun to be inspired by somebody else. So I had a really good time doing that. And then I have just been busy making cool stuff. What can I say? I've been working with this 19th century serape wool that's hand woven and hand dyed. And I got this because parts of it fell apart, but there were isn't
Oh my
this gorgeous?
gosh.
There were
That's
That's
all
really
these
cool.
beautiful.
pieces that I could still use. So I've been making bags and trays and knife slips with it. And I just feel like people are carrying around this piece of history. Like, I don't know. It's going over really well. People
That's
are really
super cool.
liking it. So
I love it.
yeah, it's fun.
Sweet.
It's fun. It's good
It's really
colors
cool.
too. So yeah, that's what I've been working on this week, and I had to give an update on my book because I called myself out publicly on it. I haven't done anything. I'm
I
calling
was supposed to
myself
harass
out.
you about that.
You were supposed to harass me about it, and like it's in the back of my mind, and I'm gonna work on it, but I did not work on it in February, and I just want to let people know. Hopefully, March will be better. So
All right.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah, yeah.
Sweet.
How are you doing, Tom?
Busy, very busy.
Are you
Blade Show
ready?
Texas is, I guess, the day this is coming out, so I will be in Texas. Excited to see everything down there. We're flying out Wednesday, and we're not setting up till like 1 anyway, because that's when John from Badger Call is bringing us a table. So I'm like, I guess we'll just hang out and see what Texas is all about for a couple days, which would be nice. I got everything done beforehand, and it was kind of like weird because like all my stuff was done last week, and I'm like, what do I do with these hands? Like, what do you mean I'm not working till the last second? Like it was this free time thing, and right now we're in such a like weird weather phase where it's like you can't. I mean, you could go ice fishing. You just kind of got to jump from the shore because it's all starting to melt. So you have to jump to the good
Sounds
ice,
dangerous.
or get yeah. Oh, and it's like hope that it didn't open up out there. So it's like that's really not worth it. I was actually tempted to like. There's a crack that opened up in our lake, and I was just going to take the canoe out and just fish this little line that's open with my ice fishing gear just up and down like that from the boat. But I decided I had better things to do with my time. Um, I made a new knife. That was fun. I made Joe. You'd appreciate this one.
Woohoo.
I made the bigger boy, which was just it's the wicked big boy, but I supersized it.
Do you have it here?
Yes.
No, it's already all packed up for
Oh,
Texas.
all right. I'll give you a pass on that.
Yeah, I wanted to bring it just because that's another thing about going to Blade Show and stuff like that. Like, it's just a great opportunity to show things to people and get thoughts and feelers. Like, even one thing I'm thinking about changing the handle size on the Bruin to make it a little bit thicker. But it's like I need to go gauge people's interest because for a bushcraft tool and camping tool, a thicker handle is great. But you also want a thinner handle for hunting knives because you don't need that much handle to it. So it's almost like but I had to decide what it needs to be. So, what better place than a place with thousands of knife nerds to hand these things to and be like, what do you think? Tell me. So I could write this down and then change everything. So, lots of new things I've been playing around with. I think doing all this production work like makes me want to try something different just because like after you sharpen the 100th knife for the day you're like I need to do something that stimulates my brain. So been busy playing with a whole bunch of new stuff.
This is really great, Tom. I'm very proud of you. This is what you were
Seriously.
hoping for. I hope you've acknowledged this is a big thing for you.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
never met somebody who had their crap together before a Blade Show. That's unheard of. That's like X-Men
Should send him a
uncanny. Yes.
And I mean, with all the setbacks too, this
Yeah.
past couple months, it's kind of nice to see. Like, even with like my finger still, it's still not hand model worthy, but it's attached and working. So I was surprised I was able to get all this stuff done. But I'm happy with it, and I also learned too that like to get like to get a knife going, you need to start it like at least a year and a half in advance. I used to think it's a year, and now I'm adding another half year to it after manufacturing issues and stuff like that, where it's not even just issues. Things take forever and move slow. So even like the bigger boy, like I don't know if that's going to come out this year or not. Probably next year, but it would be good to dial it in now and plan for like a next year type release of that thing. And also too, it's like it's a big hunk of steel. It's kind of fun. I can't wait to like go break stuff with it.
Yeah.
Even though like I'm not like one of the guys like Joe, you're a big knife guy. I know you're a big knife guy. I'm not necessarily
Sometimes.
the one tool option type person. Um, just because of what I do with all like the fishing and hunting stuff. Like
Yeah, of course.
this bigger boy that's 5/32 stock and a 6-inch blade cannot act the same as a neck knife that I hang from my neck for cutting
Of
fishing
course.
line and cutting open fish. It's a little. I would not be wanting to wield that thing around on a rocking boat. So technically, it could cut fishing line, but is it not? It's not going to do the job.
And the
that I
boat.
want it to
And
do.
the boat, too.
And the boat.
And the
And
boat.
your hand.
Yes.
And your fingers off.
Dude,
I know
this
there's
was
lot-
an awesome tool unless you're in a Kevlar boat and you drop it.
Yeah. And then you remind yourself that you're working sitting on a canoe seat with all your vitals below you. And then you have this giant sword that you're trying to cut 6-pound test with. So that's why I always love is like, oh, if you get a big knife, you only need one thing. I'm like, not necessarily.
No, it's not. It's definitely not the rule. I just like big knives because,
They're fun.
yeah, I've been watching Crocodile Dundee too much. So that's it.
Well, somebody said that the bigger boy that I did, it's like Bear Force Knives gave me this micarta that he made out of like a blue burlap, and I did it
Cool.
with like a neon green liner. And somebody's like, "Wow, that's like a Rambo knife if he was like in a synthwave film." And I'm like, "Oh my god, that could be the next Rambo that comes out that I totally watch."
Synthwave
Oh my
Rambo.
Synthwave
That's
Rambo.
awesome.
I'm like, I could get down with that.
What are you up to,
Amazing.
Nick?
What am I up to? Well, as you guys can see, I got a haircut and I shaved. So I basically go all winter without shaving or cutting my hair, and I just look like a disgusting mountain creature. Um,
Any wildlife in the beard?
no. I get
Yeah,
clean, I got shampoo and all that stuff, but I just I don't know. I go through this every winter, and then I get out of it like starts to get warmer, and I come out of hibernation and decide I want to be a person again a little bit. Um, but yeah, so that happened, and now I'm a person again. Other than that, like I'm just like doing all kinds of crazy stuff at Off Grid. Trying to institute a lot of new stuff on the website. So we have like a knife of the week feature that's going to be coming out every Monday. So it's going to be highlighting a different knife every week, and a couple new columns that are kind of coming together. So pretty cool stuff. Oh, and we also have an Off Grid discounts now. So we
Oh.
have like discount codes and sales and all kinds of cool stuff, and that's going to go up every weekend. So you guys can go check that out. There's a big sign on the website that says "Hot Deals," and you click on it,
deals.
and
All
you just get
right.
discount codes and sales of the week, and it'll be updated every week, so you guys can check
Sounds
that
like a
out.
7-Eleven counter.
Get your hot deals. Get your
Yeah,
hot
I don't know.
knives.
I had to like
Bunch of
make like a
taquitos for sale at Off Grid.
yeah, why not? Off survival taquitos, that could be a thing. I had to make like a promo video for it. And I wasn't sure what I wanted to do for it, and I was like, how can I make like the best cheesy like '80s commercial ever? So that's what I did, and I got like crazy flashing like words coming on the screen. They spin, and it's wild. It looks like a late night infomercial. So I had fun with
Perfect.
that. Other than that, that's it. That's all I got. I just been toiling away and all that good stuff. So I guess without further ado, let's introduce Joe Flowers of Bushcraft Global. Hey, Joe.
Hello. Hello,
So Joe's been
everybody.
here before, but now he's here in amazing moving picture format. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I'm sorry for the rest of the internet who has to see this.
Listen, they look
moving
at, they look
picture.
at
I
me
meant
every
with the
week.
moving picture format of me is what I meant with that.
That's amazing. So anyway, for the people who don't know you, although I'm sure a lot of them do, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then it will degenerate into nonsense.
That sounds exact. If you want to summarize everything, I just degenerate into nonsense anyway. My name is Joe Flowers. I write for some magazines that basically turned into a knife designing career. So I wrote about knives, learned about the market, was able to talk to knife companies, convinced them to design for them and put in some stuff that I thought would look cool on the knife market. And lo and behold, like 15 years later, I'm still here for some reason and designing. So I started designing for the very first time for Tops knives and for Condor tool and knife. If you all remember, like Print Magazine made out of this paper stuff, I used to write for Tactical Knives Magazine. My first article was on a Tops knife, and back when I was in my 20s, I submitted the design to them, and that started going and creating a little bit of interest. And I've had a wonderful chance to be able to design for a lot more companies now, including CJRB, Artisan Work Tough, BPS knives now out of Ukraine, Shade Indonesia, a plethora of other knife companies, Andrew Demko knives. A lot of the other knife companies, I can sit there and just talk them all, but basically I like knives way too much. Don't
No
have an
such thing.
engineering degree, so having to learn
No, you
all of
don't need
this.
it.
No, apparently not. Some knife companies are like, Joe, this is a little bit too complicated. Go back to pen and paper. Got it. So I had to learn AutoCAD off of YouTube. But I'm a zoology major and a entomology minor, so study of animals, study of bugs. I kind of incorporate that into my ventures outside. That led me into a world of using knives outside, which I'm really passionate about, teaching people about nature and about knives. That all comes together for real in the Amazon jungle where there's a bunch of creepy crawlies. Entomologist equals bugs, knives, put them together, you got jungle. So I have a jungle trip. Oh man, and this is before last podcast. A lot of stuff has exploded since then. So my first jungle trips were in Peru, Brazil, and Colombia. As of this year now, I'm expanding to El Salvador, Guyana, and Trinidad.
Nice.
If my
Wow.
wife, yeah, if my wife will let me, this is one step at a time, guys.
It's
This
a
all
lot of travel.
sounds. It is. It is. So like, it doesn't happen 1 year at a time. I mean, like I'm pushing into 2027 and stuff, and I want to host trips on rivers right around my area too. So I'm around my two kids and my wife a lot more. I live up in the mountains of North Carolina, not in the Amazon jungle. And I'm mostly a stay at home dad who plays on the computer too much, designing knives. And then every once in a while I get to travel. So that's basically about it. I just got back from IWA, which is, I can't remember the acronym, International Weapons in the letter A or something like that. It's basically like SHOT Show. If internet guys, if you're familiar, that's this giant sporting hunting outdoor trade show in Las Vegas. IWA is basically the equivalent out in Nuremberg, Germany. So it's where like the whole world of Europe comes together with knives, with tactical gear, with guns, with clothing, with a whole plethora of different stuff. And this was my first year going to that. So I had a chance to go to that and just got back yesterday. And right before that, I got to go on a trip with all of our good friends, Peter Magnan, with some veterans, and got to take them on a 7-day trip out in Florida,
Wow.
which has its own jungle. That was so incredible too. Northern Florida, out on the Susquehanna River. Um, yes, that's the river name. My blood hurts. I can't remember from traveling. But and it was such a wonderful time with veterans in the wild and 23rd veteran. And so I've had a lot of travel. I'm looking forward for the next month and a half not traveling so much. So
You
that's
also had
basically
SHOT
it.
Show recently
Oh
too.
yeah, and SHOT Show. Yes, still recovering from that as well. So SHOT Show.
Lauren
Hey,
and
did
I
I do
were
Trinidad? Did I talk about Trinidad too?
no,
No.
Jesus
No.
Christ, Joe.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
get to travel
Trin-
sometimes.
no, this was.
No
Listen,
wonder
this
why
is
your
a
wife is
travel
trying to
year.
governor it right now.
No crap. No, and she should. She's the harder worker in the family, so she. This is a year travel. I'm not going to be doing this all the time, but the cool part is because I'm like normally, y'all, I have this big trip in the summertime down in Colombia, Peru, and Brazil. This time, I'm having Peter do that so I can spend the summer when my kids are out of school with them over at Georgia Bushcraft, over at a bunch of other events where we're trying to do it with family. And this IWA trip in Germany, I brought my wife down. So she got to see, hey, sometimes they actually work. And you know, that was really good. And she saw me come home like completely worn out from talking all day, kind of like at Georgia Bushcraft. And you know, she had a spa appointment one day, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, you can see sometimes it's not just like playing upstairs, but that's the world's smallest islands. I'm not bragging about it. We just had a very very amazing trip, and I got to learn about some of the knife scene outside of the U.S. too. So that was probably the most incredible part, except for the beer and the sandwiches and the amazing fans and other people who I was fans of. Dude, I
I
got
was
to
just
meet.
about to say.
Yeah,
Got to
it
see the
was so
DBK
cool.
guys, which is cool.
Yes. Oh man, we had a good time too.
You got to see
We
Martin, right?
Yeah, a lot.
Was Mickey
a
there
lot.
or no?
And yeah, Mickey wasn't there, but guys, if I'm knocking on wood, guys, if you're wondering what I'm doing, if we're lucky, you might be able to meet them at Blade Show.
Nice.
Cool.
Nothing confirmed. I'm trying my best, but there's some stuff in the cards that is happening pretty quickly. Once the informed parties are all done traveling, I guess, or something,
Your
without sounding
energy
sketchy.
must go so well with their energy because they are
Oh.
so out there of personalities as well. And I could just see you two just being like, you know, all the three of
We
you
were
just three peas in the
screwed.
pod. Yeah.
Yo, we had to like make sure like his girlfriend like would stop us from talking after like 2 hours because he had other work to do. We're like, both of us were like, look, we know we both are squirreling. We know how it is at some of these events too and stuff, and that's something we all of us have. Heather for sure. I mean, all of you guys have seen that Georgia Bushcraft. It's go go go, or Blade Show. It's go 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 sometimes, but
Yeah.
we made time to just go hang out and grab a coffee, and really get to know like what's going on. They got a good head on their shoulders, and they're smart about some of the problems that we have in the internet. I'm going to bring them into the co-op.
Nice.
I think he might be already in there. I'm not sure, but it'll be good for the server, I think. And yeah, there's a lot of wonderful stuff as far as Georgia Bushcraft is involved. The Bushcraft magazine. I don't have them on my desk here right now, but Bushcraft magazine, Andrew and Castrum knives could possibly, nothing's confirmed, guys. None of this is confirmed. I'm just saying these are ideas that might happen, but
You
could
heard it
possibly
here
be.
first. No.
Yeah, but you heard it here first. They're
Anything
either
happens,
coming to
Blade
the
Show.
spring or fall gathering, so we're getting a lot of internationals coming, and I really like that, especially not getting political or anything. Don't give a crap about that.
Oh, you
But
can curse here.
yeah, well, I don't give a shit about it, but it's important right now to show that the knife community worldwide is working together. There's a whole Instaband posse in Europe that's pushing together to get out of the Instagram ban. I'm like, oh, we happen to have that here in the U.S. of a bunch of people supporting each other too. So there
Yep.
might be an influx of Europeans in the co-op servers, but they've got some stuff figured out that's really cool too. Especially these German engineer dudes. They know their stuff of how to get around some of the bans. One guy showed me, and I couldn't believe he had no orange check marks or anything on his phone, and all he does is show knives. So
I need to know. We need to know these secrets because
yeah, I know.
I've been in band land for like 3
Is the
years now.
secret lots of
Thousands.
money?
No. I don't know.
Because
Guys,
that's how
I
American
don't know if he
companies
has
work.
the answer, but good God, it's out there too. So it's really cool because I mean, not only was it like a trade show, but it was just a big, big knife nerd fest, just like Blade Show. Honestly,
Well, you wouldn't think of that culture over there in Europe because you think Europe, not to be rude, but they're mostly a bunch of pansies that don't have the fun stuff like we do.
no,
Like,
it's not their fault
How
too.
American of
And
you.
no, it's not, dude. I saw it in person. You gotta give it a little bit of thing. Those German knife laws were crazy.
Yeah.
They were looking through bags while we were going into the trade show and like saying, "Hey, sir, you can't have the knife on the side when you're out of the booth." And so like it's not their fault. I really, really saw how bad it's getting in the UK and stuff down there too. And like, Jesus, Joe, like you give them a machete and they're like, oh, so happy. And I showed them how to
Yeah.
do all the crazy dumb shit that I do all the time at Blade Show to chum the waters. And they're, whole crowds around me seeing them use these big blades. And it's just because, the laws and stuff are there. So, you can see how bad it gets. It's going to start there, but it really is worldwide. When you see it there, I'm really going to start trying to push not being a knife political law person or something like that, but a little bit. This is going to sound stupid. A little bit more international acceptance of machete-shaped objects for agricultural use, because there has to do something backwards. If Germany's having horrible knife laws within the past 2 weeks now, it's just a matter of time whether it's a year or 20 years down the line, where sometimes our knife laws in the U.S. could be a thing
Well,
of a
depends what
problem.
state you're in. They're
Yeah,
already
it's
a
just
problem.
Yeah.
Go
depends
to
on
New
where
York
you
City.
are.
Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. So like work backwards and figure out how to mess up these other guys way far away and then go backwards and figure out what works. That's great. Because like I remember when it used to be so cool to walk through for SHOT Show, the Las Vegas casinos with like 15 swords on my back. And you just can't do that anymore.
I was
You know?
packing for Blade Show, Texas, and here I am getting like my normal EDC, which now consists of like a little Swiss Army knife. And I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, I'll have all this, and then I'm like, wait a second, like I'm holding this little Swiss Army knife. This needs to go checked. This little thing, and it's got
Yep.
this tiny little blade slip joint that I just have mainly because it's got like an awl, a beer opener, the basic stuff
Yeah,
on it.
absolutely.
But then I'm like, crap, this is technically a weapon to the TSA. Even though I've got the actual real dangerous stuff
Yeah.
locked up in
Yeah.
a Pelican case. But in my
Stu-
head, it's just such a daily tool that you don't even think it. Where like you could get pinched if you're in Germany or something like that,
Oh my God! I had to like, you know what? And it became second nature to put, my clip. I can't remember what I'm wearing right now. I got it gifted to me by Bastard Knives in Germany at that show. But I always had it, like I always just from second nature, just reach over and tap my side to make sure my knife's like always ready to pull for something. Not for tactical reasons or anything, but because I'm a knifey guy who likes knives. And it was always showing. And I was like, shit, it's showing again. Shit is showing again, like every 5 minutes. And then like finally, like, okay, you're getting the American excuse on the floor. So I just put on a sword and walked around with that so that they wouldn't give me shit. But like kept in there. But I had to be very, very not Joe. I had to turn it down a lot because I promised Mike, my the main sales guy over at Condor, that I wouldn't get arrested or go to the hospital on this trip.
Those
Um,
were
It's
good
always a good
commitments.
thing.
Yeah, sounds
no,
like
it
it's a good
really
idea.
is, especially with the shenanigans. You want to show the people who aren't used to using big knives, so
Yeah.
it's cool.
I'm glad
Lauren
you're
and I
back.
had a kick of watching you at Dave C. Anderson's video at SHOT
Oh,
Show
gosh,
with
yes.
you. I'm like, I just pulled it up and like, Lauren, watch this. And it's you swirling around these machetes and Dave looking like he's frightened for his life because you're just like casually twirling around these broadswords. And Lauren's like, what is he doing? And I'm like, no, this is Joe. And that's why everybody stands 3 feet away when
I'm
they're
just gonna
doing
tell
films with
you,
them.
Dave and I have been like camping together for at least a decade, so like we put it on thick that he does that. This like, and he'll be like, Joe, and he's always, if you look at it right, he's always at an angle, so he's much farther away than I am, and he can always lean back if he needs to, which sometimes happens. But he's pretty used to it. Even if I did cut him, he'd probably just laugh. But the comments this time were like, "Ooh!" All of them were normally like showering really good comments, the type of ones I'd want to show my mom. But like, there's some at the bottom were like, "Oh, he's so horrible and blatant at machete stuff," and I was like, "Wow, people caught on." I'm going to tone it down a little bit and just leave it to like stuff when we're all in person instead of like stuff on the internet, just to show some ridiculous stuff, because that was barely even the tip of the iceberg. And it wasn't even an iceberg, like a meteorite. That was like the tip of like how unsafe things can actually be with knives. And it's the same deal. In Europe, I'd take a machete. I got one here, maybe somewhere, and I just like flip it around real quick like that, and they would all flip out, and I was just, Oh shit! That's something not really like because you don't have to catch it on the edge. You just have to catch it a little bit and then figure out what you were supposed to do with the edge facing that way to look cool. So okay, if I flick it this way and it's facing that way, then I'll start demonstrating that cut. If I have it this way, I'll start talking about the pinch grip. So you just have an option for all those things. And then if you cut yourself, then you start teaching first aid and pretend like you meant to.
I like your
So,
backup plans.
yeah, there you got to have a lot
Be
of
able to
backup.
pivot on the fly. That's
Right. I mean,
I'm sure it's all
that's
from
it.
experience.
Yes, too. Holy crap! Like, you should probably have this. You have like pockets that have like blood stains from when you like cut yourself and then started talking, and just put your hand in your pocket to like soak it up and make it stop, so it's not awkward. I have like 2 jeans with like blood stains on the inside of the pockets from that same problem.
See, I feel like that was like an evolution of my high school life because back when I was in high school, like everybody smoked, and of course we weren't allowed to smoke cigarettes on school property, so I would like cup my cigarette in my pocket so that like when the security guard walked by, and I would get burn holes and
Oh
like
yeah, and you
burns
have
on my
no idea from
leg.
the smoke coming from your
Yeah,
pocket that you're
Oh,
smoking
Travis,
cigarettes.
all of a
with that.
sudden you'd hear the
Yeah,
smell of you'd smell that smell of burning hair.
yeah. Yeah, it's
Oh
like
my
all the
god.
kids smoking the devil's lettuce, and they're like, "There's no idea they know. There's no way they know." Even though it smells like 8 skunks are in the room, you're like, "Yeah, no, I had no idea, guys. Eyes are redder than the devil, but nope, I
Mhm.
had no idea."
I gotta
That
tell you, man, having a teenager now, like I look back
oh
on
no.
me when I was a teenager, and I was like, man, I thought I was so fucking smart. Like I thought I was pulling the wool over everybody's eyes. And I'm like, my daughter tells me a story. Sometimes I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, sure, honey,
Mhm.
I believe that 100%.
They work really hard on those stories, man. You got to give them credit for it.
Joe, what
Oh,
cool stuff
I
did you
have
see in
so
Europe?
many. Pardon?
I
Go
was going
ahead.
to ask you what cool stuff you saw while you were over in Europe. You see any stuff that you
Oh,
don't normally see here?
yeah. A lot actually. A lot more axe manufacturers.
Oh,
More unknown German manufacturers. Like I've never seen Haltefers and a thing in person. Prandi from Italy was there. They were really cool as an axe company, Italian based. They have a really cool heat treat on their axes. A couple of more unknown ones, just because we don't get that European flavor of axes. That was super neat. Of course, some of the bigger knife companies were there, like We Knives. They had a huge thing, but some more unheard of ones, like On Armor, which is like one of the first times I've seen like uh, this crazy. Not crazy. This guy's really smart. He had crazy designers. Oh, they don't make those. But he had a Chinese company called On Armor that had really interesting designers, laminated Japanese steel, Scandinavian edges, and then crazy bevels and stuff with CNC machines that you don't normally see. And in some really cool steels, these Japanese laminated steels that were really invigorating. So it was a really fresh take on like the bushcraft style market. They were trying to do like a fusion of bushcraft and tactical style. They had some really cool stuff. There were some you could take it apart on the fly folding knives and like
oh,
add parts and change stuff out. So if you wanted it to be like a convex edge, you could change it out on the fly in the field to be like a folding knife with a convex edge. If you wanted it to be a like a utility knife insert, there was an option for that too. So it was like another transformer esque blade that was out there, and he had this whole book of all these crazy designs that they've been rendering, out in this other country. I can't remember which country this was from. Um, as far as let's see where else I can go backwards from there pretty easily. No, there were a lot of companies that I don't normally see at Shot Show, and frankly haven't been to Blade Show yet, or haven't been in a long time that were there too. A lot of the more like Swedish, French knife companies like uh, Baladio, which
I've never
is
even heard
this.
of these people.
Yeah, you'd have to look them up, and if you saw like their folding knife, you go, "Oh, that's that one like knife." Or Laguioli is another, I think, French knife company. And they have like a bee on the top of their knife. And
Hmm.
sometimes they make steak knives, but they also make this super duper ultra lightweight pocket knife too. That's I remember from my backpacker magazine days. I had to write it up for there. It was one of the world's lightest folding knives out there. It's almost like
Oh,
a I don't know if you guys remember, but the CRKT stiff or folding kiss knife, I
Hmm.
believe, designed by Ed Halligan.
Yep.
Yeah, kind of like that style. So like the skeletonized, super lightweight, fancy folding knife. That was really really cool. Silky saws was there, um, and
nice.
you,
I
yeah,
love
and
Silky. Love
dude,
Silky sauce.
yeah. So it was neat because they had like the European guys, and then they had the Japanese guys there. And you meet the Japanese guys like, oh yes, yes, they're like well reserved, older guys, definitely like the main guys in the company. And then you had the younger guys down there who loved to show people how to use the silky saw. And they had that giant katana, guys. It's like that the katana
Huge.
folder saw is like this giant, like 3 foot long folding beast of a saw, and they were folding stuff out there. But once again, the German regulations, they could only bring in one tree at a time because it was a fire hazard, even though the birch was completely wet and
Safety.
the tables were made out of pallets. So I don't know what the deal was there. So of course I went there like 3 times and
And
got
all
my
the
saw on.
polyester banners that are behind everybody's booth.
Dude,
That's not a worry. Those things that
no,
go when they light.
no, not at all. So I
Oh,
was
okay.
you
But
see
the
how I had to
fucking
be like
log.
less Joe. Like I did like real quick on the side. We all got like in a C shape, and I showed like the Japanese guys. I was like, "Oh, Godzilla, look!" And I'd throw fire steels out and stuff like that with it, and they loved it because they knew I knew the Silky guys because they kind of own all that, and I showed them my Godzilla pins beforehand and told them how much of a nerd I am. Um, which is pretty big. I mean, right here I have the chicken Godzilla as my mentor. So um, anyway, long story short, started meeting Martin. Martin from Dutch Bushcraft Knives and I have been kind of close, beforehand, but never met, in person. We'd always been talking about YouTube ebbs and flows and how to maintain a business for a long time and stuff. Not like I'm one to talk to about that, but just he has a really cool Discord server with a bunch of younger knife guys who can honestly teach me about some new stuff I don't know about because it's hard to keep up without the forums around anymore. And I met him, and he had a new folding knife from Lee, and this folding knife was a nail nick knife, an S30V, and he was like, "Yeah, everybody was, bitching about it not being able to be one-handed open," and I was like, "Oh, you mean like this?" And just kind of opened it real quick, and then he was like, "Yeah," and then they were worried about the folding knife, not being that tough, and I'm like, "Oh, well, I happened to bring Black Palm with me, this horrible, horrible stuff from the Amazon jungle that messes up knives real bad. Very very dense, and I carried that just for shits and giggles.
Because
And
why
brought
not?
it out there, and I'm like, all right, dude, we have a video to film, and so we went right over to Silky, and I used this knife or used the saw and made a baton real quick, and then right in front of the Silky guys, we batoned it and we used it on the Black Palm right there and filmed it, and the Silky guys laughed and loved it too, and it worked very very well. So now there's another freaking knife steel I need to get to know. Now 20, what is it, 20 CV?
Yeah.
Oh
Some
yeah.
people have been
Yeah,
raving about it.
yeah, dude,
I
I
don't know. There's
barely
so much
even
shit. There's so much.
I barely even like figured out what LMAX is.
Yeah.
Now I got
Max.
like not something new again. So and of course I'm very very honestly obsessed with Japanese culture, not because of Godzilla, but also I'm a black
A
belt in
little
Shoto.
bit. You
Yeah,
can say a
well,
little bit.
I'd say mostly.
Okay.
But I Godzilla, I have a black belt in Shotokan karate and all this stuff too. So like I've always wanted to work with the Japanese. And so like I went and talked to M Kusta, and they have this new steel that they're working with, which is like a laminate steel. I think it is, guys. This is all pretty rough because secondary English and all the facts too. And I have the sheet over there, but it's acting like a Magna Cut, but it's like a laminated steel where they've got two things where they just love it together, and there's special heat treatment that's some kind of super steel that they're pretty It's got the let's put it this way, it's got the corrosion resistance comparable to LC200 and a MagnaCut, and that's something I'm very, very interested in, especially if it's made by the Japanese. And
Are they keeping it to themselves though? Because the Japanese are notorious for saying we got this great
Yeah.
stuff, but
We're
you're
not
not
going to share.
allowed to even look at it.
probably, probably, but I get to use it, so that's what I'm happy about. You know?
Well, that's
I was
fair.
gonna say, too, it sounds expensive.
Yeah, probably, honestly. But that's cool though, because if you want to have something from the Japanese, you can pay for it that way. But I bet you it's incredible steel, because a lot of this stuff, the M-Kusa steel I tested from their factory down in the jungle was one of the only steels that I didn't have chip on that Black Palm, and this was just a VG10 core. With I think 440 or 420 J2 on the outside, and it was grind in the way they did it. But I was like, is anybody seeing this? And like using it like crazy, and then started wailing on it. And even then, it was an anomaly to me. So like there was something there I thought was interesting.
The
And
way
it
they
looks
do
pretty.
their grinds is so interesting too. I mean, talk about the DBK guys. They just did a video on a Japanese Nada, which they were like blown away by. Where they're like,
Yeah.
this isn't anything crazy, but it's like outperforming like all these other like Americanized knives that you would think they're like 1/4 inch destroyers of everything. Yet like this Nada
Yeah.
without like a pinned handle and just a piece of wood handle that's wrapped around with something. But, like it went through all their tests just fine. And they're like, how does this what?
So the Nada, I'm looking around because I just designed one for Condor. The Nada is really interesting because a lot of the traditional Nadas, God bless it, I had one just here on the ground from Japan, have like a 30-60 grind or a complete chisel grind.
Mhm.
And so you could have like a right-handed Nada or a left-handed Nada. And Ethan Becker looked at one of those back in the day, and he goes, or looked at one of my weird knives that I have from Malaysia that used to be hanging right back there, but apparently fell down since our last podcast. Yeah, it's down on the floor now.
Probably just threw a piece of your floorboard.
No,
sticking
it's
through the room
Yeah.
below.
This happened. Or my drum went through my drum one time. But anyway, they have like a concaveness, and they have like a right hand or left hand. And actually, sometimes once you get it right, I haven't really explored it too much, but can really excel for chopping and busting out stuff. But for splitting, you can shingle out things a lot easier, so you have more control with it. And it's not just trying to split the wood; it's trying to pop the wood off. And so that's a really interesting thing. My personal Nada that I designed for Condor had like a equilateral, the same grind on both sides, like a flat grind secondary bevel, just because it was more useful for a machete type and a full grind. But the Nada was batoning before the word baton ever became like a thing in the knife world. It literally was a knife it literally is a knife in the Japanese culture that is designed for batoning, and that's it. Just splitting.
Talk about like a
here
super
comes my dog.
safe European knife too. Because
Yeah.
when you look at the Nada, that's why I designed one. I still need to figure out how I'm going to make them, but I made one, and I actually had to pry it out of Ruben's hands, pretty much.
Oh, that makes sense.
I lent it to Ruben so he could do some real field testing, and he beat the shit out of this thing. But he's like, "Do you really need it back?" I'm like, "Oh."
Reverse.
Sorry. She heard me being loud.
But I had to pry it out of his hands because he liked it. But it's like the reason why it's so nice, especially where I live in the People's Republic of New Jersey, it's just a square, round, rectangular tool. It doesn't have any points like the machetes do.
Yeah.
That like people look like that's dangerous, or even like I know that you've talked about with the Condor stuff, where it's like you're doing safety orange because you're saying this is a gardening tool. But the
Exactly.
Nada, it has no point to it. So it's like already, It's like you could very much say this is a gardening tool, not meant for, even though you could swing and get some leverage with
Right,
a Nada
right.
and do a good amount of damage.
You can
But,
with
like,
the hammer too. Right.
Visually, it doesn't have that thing, that point that everybody's so afraid
Yeah.
of.
I mean, there's plenty of gardening tools out there that could really do some damage if you.
Yeah, like a chainsaw.
Like a pitchfork.
Pitchfork, the chainsaw, they're both.
Like, there's a lot of stuff at Home Depot that could do a number on somebody. But, or like a box cutter. I almost lost a finger due to a box cutter. So, you never know.
Yeah, true story. But it's cool because the Nada has like a tremendous amount of tradition. It's one of the tools. If you remember all those Japanese style like houses with the
Hmm.
roofs that are like kind of stacked up one on the other, all the shingles are cedar, and they break up all the cedar with nadas and do all the shingle shakes with the nada instead of like what we used in North America, which is the fro a
Hmm.
lot. So it basically was like a fro, but without that fulcrum on top. And I got videos of dudes taking out with complete straight grain cedar. Keep that in mind. Without
They're
any
nasty
knots.
knots.
Yeah, they're just massive trees. They look like redwoods almost. And one guy just has a nada, no handle, just full tang, and just swinging, bam, bam, bam on it, and blowing this thing apart and doing cedar shakes out of it. And we have our nada actually outside. It's all. I'm never showing it to the light of day because that one's our bead or not. That one just stays outside and it just gets derusted every time it goes through some oak. But we use that for the small kindling on our for our wood stove religiously. It's such a cool tool, and
Yeah.
and I think America is just finally like realizing, hey, this is cool again. You know?
I like it because it's for that same reason where it works like a fro. You could also use it like a hatchet. But then
Yeah.
too, for like even like delimbing trees and stuff like that, if you're doing a lot of fire prep or like cutting down trees and everything, you can get a nice swing to it in that flick of the wrist to really get the motion behind the tool to let the tool do the work instead of like, having like an axe where you have such a small area to hit.
Right.
Nada, you have a lot of room to miss and still hit, if that makes
Yeah.
any sense.
Sounds
Absolutely.
like my kind of
Absolutely.
tool.
It is. It's a really
Can't mess
cool
it up.
tool. We could start making like Nadas great again or something in the U.S. I know Tops just came out with one. Silky has one too. The Silky Nada. Dutch
Yeah.
Bushcraft Knives actually reviewed it, and they had that there too. What was cool about that one is it's not traditional because it is Japanese made, so that's super cool. But the Santoprene, the moldable plastic on the back can actually be like taken off, and the whole handle can be taken off, so you can just go full monkey mode on it as a piece of steel, and it works out real well. So I thought that was really cool. They like made it, like to take it off so that people could get more violent with it or something. I broke the handle. Well, did you take it off before you did that? No. Well, dude, that might be like a
inevitably
really
when you
great
do something
way to.
like the DBK guys where they start batoning the handle through wood as well.
Yeah.
they
Oh, I
probably
met
need
those guys too. So that's UG Tools,
Yeah.
right? And they have the titanium, the 3D printed titanium handles. And I actually have been testing their knife for the past year and their machete. I've gotten two of them here and their knife. And I'm not gonna lie, it's the most impressive knife I've used in a very, very long time. And it doesn't even have a skin to grind or it's designed by me or whatever. It's like a really good, and that's the cool part. That I'm really like starting to enjoy other people's knives again. I never like stopped or anything too, but I'm allowed to go crazy over other people's knives, and that's one that like really blows my mind because this is as light as a neck knife, but it's as stable as like the hardest full tang knife you could use. And the magna cut that they have on there, I know we're not going to go down this rabbit hole, but the magna cut that they have there, I tested over at River's Edge Cutlery, and they say 65 Rockwell. It was 64.5, and that's after I gave it hell down in the Amazon jungle. I mean, it was gross, and I had to really clean it to show people again. And it was really cool, and they have a lot of new stuff. The UG Tools out of Germany. This is this awesome, 3D printed titanium handles, and really cool blade steels on their knives. They just are available now in the U.S. at ulticlip.com. Like
Oh,
since
they
last
finally
weekend.
got him here. That's
Yeah,
awesome. We seen them at Blade Show.
yeah, that's
Last
where I
year,
first
and
met them.
they were super cool. I think we were talking about them last episode too.
Yeah, with
Yeah,
Adam.
Yeah.
man, they gave me some stuff to test out. They gave me this really cool 3D printed pickle fork. That on one side it's a pickle fork, and it has like a 3D printed lanyard. I'll show you guys at Georgia Bushcraft.
I think
or
Taylor
whatever.
had one of them. It was
Oh,
like
yeah, yeah.
yeah, the mini fork neck knife,
Yeah, and you can flip it over and use it for an ice cream spoon.
and there's a little
then-
shiv.
Yeah, or as a shiv. Well, no, the ice cream spoon would be hard. You'd be kind of like shoveling somebody, but the fork would definitely work. And one side is like ground, so you can use it for ferro rod. I literally have a video of me like pulling a pickle out like an hour ago from my jar that I was going to put up on Instagram.
That's
Because-
awesome.
So then you'll have pickle juice hanging around your neck all day when you put it back.
Yeah.
Perfect.
See,
Did
I
you
think
guys
smell
that's
know
the
like a
pickle all
cool
day.
thing.
There's a pickle, like the pickle's a Victorian fancy thing, right? Because I'm looking for a pickle jar because if
Mhm.
you had servants to pickle your food, you were considered elite. So they used to have Victorian pickle jars, and they're these really fancy jars, and they'd have the pickle forks on them to pull the pickles out of the pickle jar. Yeah, I've been searching for one that I can afford because they're very, very expensive. But
I was about to say,
I
like,
put,
I
a
don't
note,
think
I
my
put a
life-
thing in my show notes. Look for a Victorian pickle
Yeah,
jar.
it's like I don't think
you never
my
know
life
what you'll
could
find.
be complete now without a fancy pickle jar. I need that in my life.
beautiful,
Yeah.
guys. So it's funny that you have a neck pickle fork. It's just
A neck
full
pickler.
circle, full
Neck
circle.
pickle.
Well, I still put that in my checked-in luggage on my way back because I was afraid with all the German rules, but I didn't get in trouble at all.
Well, that's good.
I was kind of jealous because my wife had the cute little beagle over at the Charlotte airport come sniff her bag, and I was like, "Wait, come sniff! I had jerky in my bag. Come sniff." You know, it's really cute. I gave the whole guys at UG Tools like a bag of jerky just because, like, I mean, I really respect the tool that they made. That's what like blew my mind. It was really cool. I used it in salt water and fresh water. It's one of the first tools that I met that I like that I really think I could like go through a concrete mixer with and not even see any problems with it. But it was really cool, and I gave them a bunch of jerky because I was messaging them, and then they messaged me, and I happened to be hunting because I'm not really hunting. I'm text messaging in a freaking stand if I'm doing still hunting because I can't sit still, so I have to do something. And I got a deer, and then came over and butchered it with them. So they were asking questions, and I was like live sending pictures back at me butchering. So I brought them a huge like 6-pound bag of deer jerky that I made for the day that they were there. And it turned out to like save their butts because they got stuck in like a 4-hour traffic jam at dinner time and ended up
Oh,
using that whole bag
no.
for dinner on their way back.
There you go.
So, yes, I was so
I was
happy.
out there saving lives.
You don't get
No,
in
well,
trouble.
the deer was. The deer was. So
You don't
that
get in
was
trouble
really
for
cool.
bringing all this stuff over to a different country. You got black palm from the Amazon, and now you're bringing venison over. I'm pretty sure they're not
I have
worried
to-
about
yeah,
the pickle fork.
And like
This
3
is how-
machetes. What the hell else? The 3
You get
machetes. I
grilled
can't
for like
remember.
flying with a bag of Doritos to the wrong place.
But there's tricks, right? You can lock them with like a luggage lock in like a bag. I happen to use the Tough Possum leather bag made out of tiger stripe camo, not leather, tiger stripe nylon bag as my locking bag of knives this time. And so that worked pretty well. And then I kind of showed them in Germany that I gave a crap about the knives, and I put them all in like a wire, like luggage lock thing. So like somebody'd have a problem doing something with them, or at least pretended to look like that way. So that worked really well. I always travel with the jerky check-in. And if like anybody gives me crap, I'm just gonna eat a whole bunch right in front of them, like Cookie Monster, and just be like,
Like you're eating
protein for
drugs.
the next week, yeah, and just go ham on it, and then be like, you guys can have the rest. I promise you, it's not roofied, and then leave it. And
That's how to
Anyone has
instill
ever-
confidence.
Has anyone ever roofied jerky? Is that?
I
is
don't
that a thing?
know. No, I don't know. I just imagine just giving something to TSA that's edible, and they're like, no, So I
Joe's
don't know. I
roofie jerky.
guess you'd probably get a lot of people pretty easily. Everybody wants to try jerky.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's not a good idea. Don't roofie the jerky.
No. Yes, guys, you heard it here first.
Got anything out of
So-
this conversation?
Yeah, if you guys are following, Ewa Show is in Germany. It was a great place to meet a bunch of Europeans. I'm a huge fan of Dutch bushcraft knives just because they're one of the like knife reviewers that like really will keep you entertained like to the edge of your seat. So Like if I'm on like a treadmill or something, that's what I'm going to be watching to get into the knife world. At least first, I still pay attention to a lot of other YouTubers, but the ridiculous crap that they do is hilarious. And to meet him in person was really cool. But I have a new task with Demko from Demko Knives. Andrew Demko, he's a knife company and a really prolific designer. He used to work for Cold Steel, and he's like the good guy at Cold Steel who did all of the awesome designs, that always flew under the radar. And when Cold Steel Knives sold to GSM, Andrew Demko started his own knife company, Demko Knives, I believe with his brother or his two sons. I can never tell because none of them look like they ever age. And normally I remember that, but like when you're in there, you're like, there's no way this man had a son already and like stuff too. So it's really funny. So they have the Fountain of Youth going for them as well.
Or they're vampires.
Or they're vampires, but well, I see them in Las Vegas in a covered area. I've never seen them during the day in sunlight. Wait,
See?
no,
Ah.
I have. At River's Edge Cutlery, he came out and met my mom in pure light, and my mom's a saint too. So
Or is
she
that
would have
just
known.
what they want you to think?
Yeah, it's true. He could have had a whole bunch of
vampire powers.
No, he's not a vampire. He's actually
He's
a
not
really
a
prolific.
skinwalker.
No. Oh my God, we're not talking crap about him. He's a really good prolific.
No, we're not at all.
Not
Vampires
a
are
blood-sucking sanguivore, So, he had this really cool knife design called the Armiger, and I was like, "Hey, we should try and do that bushcraft-wise." And he was like, "All right, Joe." I sent him an example of a way we could collaborate because I really like to collaborate. It's never just my design. I want to make it like a feature of the company or the person who I'm working with. And so we put this together. And then at SHOT Show, he's like, "Joe, here's the thing." And he gave me 3 different colors. And it said Demco Test 1, Test 2, and Test 3. And he still has not told me what the steels are yet. I'm just supposed to figure it out. And so I brought it on the canoe trip with Peter, and it was saturated in water the whole time, but not bad. I decided to make this like a true field test and used Wicked Wax on it before I went. Brought it back home. It still hasn't really told me much. I've been using it a lot on fat wood and all that stuff, but doing tests, right? Tests are important. So then I didn't really have wood to test down at the Ewa floor, and I brought Martin from Dutch Bushcraft Knives. I was like, "Dude, how do we test these knives?" So we did a taste test to figure out what it was. So I have a video of Martin, licking these knives, and he's guessed what steel they are with that. I got to put that on Instagram or wherever I should put it. And that's the next step. So the next step is going to be a little bit more professional, where I put them field testing. I'm using field sharpeners. I don't want to use anything belt sanded wise, just so I can really understand the blades and how they're working from a field use, to where I can get them on that annoying ass knife sharpness tester, and get them all at the same time. And I'm going to do the true edge retention test and all that stuff too. But so it's got like saliva on it and crap from everywhere.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's a true test.
Oh, they've been like teasing about some kind of new Magna, whatever. Bradford used it. A company, New West Knife Works, used it. They still also, who even knows if CPM's still going to be here? So I don't even know what the fuck's going on with that. There's that little thing that may be why they don't want to talk about it, because nobody knows if it's even going to be CPM anymore. But there is that lingering of some mystery Magna cut that people are testing. And I don't know if that's what Temco's using, but I've got a suspicion, and I'm a very suspicious person. That could possibly be.
Dude, I gotta get. I've got 2 weeks now where I'm not traveling, and the other one's just like a family trip. Just about 2 hours away. I get to go to Smoky Mountain Knife Works, though. It's super fun.
I can't wait to do that.
It's amazing too.
It's like a giant place. It's so big. It's crazy.
Yeah, but I
and if you really start looking, pardon.
The off-limit parts.
You can't mention that on the podcast, Heather, because then it's not a secret part anymore.
Yeah, there are some.
Yeah,
you guys know Greg. He'll teach you. He'll take you to all the off-limit parts too. But then when my kids are at Dollywood with my wife, I can go play in the boys' shop. and it works out really well.
I want to go to
But
Dollywood too. That sounds like fun.
it is. Dollywood is pretty
I
fun.
didn't go there last I was in Tennessee. Everybody's like, "You gotta go, it's the best." But I was like, I want to go to the
What?
mountains, so that's what I did.
Dollywood or Smoky Mountain Knife
Dollywood.
Works?
No, no,
Oh,
I went to Smoke Mountain.
yeah,
I
good.
did
Oh,
not go to Dollywood. But everyone tells me it's like a freaking amazing place.
It
So
is. It is. It's, it doesn't have like the crazy, roller coasters like a Busch Gardens or something
see,
like
I'm too
that.
old
But
for that.
it's pretty fun, and
yeah, I
especially
don't
with
know
my
anything.
wife and two daughters. We're all pretty southern, and they really like the idea of like Dolly Parton, helping stuff, and they get the Dolly Parton. I'm not going to go on a rant on this, but we get books from her like every month at least in the mail from this
How many
book
books does
program
she
and stuff.
write?
No, not
No,
that she
she.
wrote that. It's like a
Yeah.
Oh,
program for kids'
okay.
books.
Oh
I
yeah.
say I didn't know Dolly Parton was such a writer.
I mean, she writes her songs.
Yeah, all fair, actually. Yeah, but I figured a book is a little bit more words.
Yeah, no, these are kids' books that are like scholastic,
Yeah,
books and stuff. So
it's a pretty cool program.
there's that aspect too. There's a lot to do in that whole area of Sevierville. You've got everything
The
from all the
largest
kids
Bucky's
stuff.
is there.
Yeah, that's true now,
Texas
and
is
that's right
really mad about
across.
that one.
I've been to
They were not happy that the largest Bucky's ended up in Tennessee. They were not pleased about that one.
That's like right across from Smoky Mountain Knife Works too.
Yeah.
Directly across from it. They're probably going to make a zip line or some bull crap going straight to it.
Well,
Last time we were
go ahead.
last time we were road tripping down to Alabama and driving, we stopped. I just happened to stop at that Bucky's because like I have to. And then you're seeing all the signs, and I'm like, oh my god, it's so close. Smoky Mountain Knife Works is right down the road. And I'm like, no, we could make it in there like an hour left. I'm like, that's not enough time to spend at a place like that.
It's not.
I need like a day or two.
Yeah, and there's so much stuff up on the walls at Smoky Mountain Knife Works. If you're a huge knife nerd and you just look every once in a while, there's like really old school axe company tins on the wall and like a lot of 80s movies like shadow boxes of like the original knives that were in the movies or like direct copies of the original knives from the custom maker that were in the movie and stuff. So it's really really cool. And then the old school like back in the day, I'm thinking like late 1980s 80s like really cool fantasy movie knives. They're like they have like a whole section there of that. And they're like, oh man,
Yep.
I remember the knife from Terminator 2. There it is right there on the wall and stuff. And so there's a cool homage there. All the folding knives, they have stuff to make a case collector just drool all over the walls in a special like old school kitchen knife area. So there's a lot of history there too, and a lot of history that's like back behind the scenes that they just haven't had a chance to put out. Kind of amazing. And so they're really cool. And the Smoky Mountain Knife Works, them and Blue Ridge Knives, they work together a lot to really help the knife community a lot more than I think people would know. Really is mind blowing.
Sometimes we need all the help we can get.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Sometimes we need to help ourselves from ourselves because knife people can get really silly sometimes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Try to do a business where you're making cutting tools. What are we thinking?
So, I know Todd's birthday's coming up, so your birthday's
Oh,
around
right.
the corner too, right?
Oh,
Happy birthday!
Happy almost birthday.
I kind of forgot. I just know my.
So no birthday
If you
plans
see me
yet.
getting red now, I swear to God it's true. My mom's birthday was yesterday, and I was really hyper focused on making sure I called her before, which was like at 5:30 in the morning her time, and then after that crazy long flight to make sure she knew, like, hey, we had a birthday. I actually forgot my birthday's coming up, which is that's what guys do. We don't like, especially after like I don't know. At least for me, after 21, that 21st birthday was really important. But after that, like everything's lame anymore. I stopped getting toys. I stopped getting like really, really like cool parties and stuff. And, the 21st birthday was a really cool party, but you're sick afterwards. So like after that, my wife, I'm 41 right now, but my wife, I remember probably, let me reframe that. My wife is a really cool, amazing, thoughtful soul. And for my 30th birthday, I had like I didn't really care about my 30th that much. And then I got a knock at the door, and it was my best friend from Maryland who owns a whole mead honey wine company. He just showed up. And then I got a couple more knocks, and all my friends just showed up. And I was like, holy crap.
Oh, that
I
was
had
so
like a group
sweet.
of my 5
Oh,
friends there. The first night we all like hung out, they camped out in the yard or slept in the house and, played with the dog, and we took them to waterfalls. And then my wife was like, we're going to take you to Raleigh now. And I got to go to see some of my zoology friends and stuff. And that was one of
Oh,
my favorite
oh, that's
birthdays.
awesome.
And
That sounds like a
then,
great time.
and speaking of birthdays, I know I'm ranting, but at our 40th birthday, my wife and I had like a big birthday together. And our good friend Casey from Georgia Bushcraft came up. And that's where they found out they were having their latest child. And that was pretty cool too.
it's a
So we had a lot.
boy.
Yeah, well, they didn't even know they were pregnant until then. So that
Oh,
was like,
wow.
y'all, like the third day or the second day, Jessica, it was like, Joe, Ash, can you come talk? And so we had a lot to celebrate. Poor Casey had a ton to celebrate right then because he could drink. He found out now that he had a DD, so worked out great. But yeah, that was one. So every once in a while, as adults, you can have meaningful birthdays too. And
Awesome.
oh man, dude, I remember when that happened. Dustin made that Godzilla versus Kong cake over
Yeah.
at
Oh
yes.
my god.
Oh man, yeah. They went and found Godzilla toys and put them on a cake. I think for my 40th as well. Like it was like right beforehand over
It
at
was demo
Campfire
days.
Co-op.
Yeah.
Demo days. I'm
It was
sorry.
demo days, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was Todd's
That
50th birthday. Yeah.
yeah. All right. So he's turning what? 52.
2.
Oh, okay, cool, awesome. Tell him I said, when's his birthday today?
No, his birthday's on Sunday.
Sunday. Okay,
Yeah.
tell him we said happy birthday.
I will, for sure.
From everybody here, I'm guessing.
Not for me. Don't tell him
Not
happy
for
birthday for me.
So
All right,
what's
well, I
new
guess-
in everybody? Oh, are we wrapping up? Or do
Yeah.
we still have time to
Yeah,
talk?
we're getting to it's we've been going on for about an hour now.
Joe, we could do like a
And,
9-hour fucking podcast.
we
I
could,
know,
and,
it's true.
and you know what? Like, we're just gonna have to have you on again. I mean,
Yeah, it's just whenever you need filler, I'm the
We never need
thriller. I
need
can't think of
filler.
anything. Well, it works
filler.
out well.
Heather and Tom are interesting, and I'm just here. So it's
Well, no. All right, let's put it this way. Whenever you guys need a break and you guys don't want to talk, just get me on there.
Okay, sounds
We'll be good.
It's a great plan.
Yeah, for sure.
all right. Well, then I guess that's all we got. We'll have some links below where you can click to see Joe stuff and Tom stuff and Heather stuff
Yep.
and Nick stuff.
Yeah.
And then Heather already pre-recorded an outro, so it's like we're done.
Cool.
Right.
So have a great one,
Well,
guys.
if you guys are at Blade Show West, please give our Nuge friend a hello. And
Yes.
Blade Show Texas. Blade Show Texas.
Texas.
That's right.
Yep.
Texas. And also, if you guys don't mind, go to the Condor booth and give Mike a attaboy because he's only going to be home for like 48 hours from Germany before he has to go to Blade Show now.
He's gonna have
Set up a
raccoon
booth.
eyes, be able to find them easy.
Yeah, he's going to
Yeah.
look he'll always have a smile, but he'll be tired.
You can't hide that kind of tired.
No, he can't. So I'm not texting him or messaging him at all. I just want to make sure everybody, bring him a sugar-free Red Bull or something. I don't know. We'll have a
There you
good
go.
time.
And now we'll give him a heart attack.
Perfect.
Yes. Real quick
No,
before
not
we
perfect.
go, Tom, tell us what you're gonna have and where you're gonna be at Blade Show.
I'm gonna have knives at Blade
Yeah.
Show. Gonna
Anything
have
cool?
I'm gonna have a bunch of textured wickets, which sold out
Cool.
last week very fast, and same with some of the XLs, the new sheath. Gonna have Bruins, some spicy Bruins with some textured handles on them. One big boy in Ironwood, which is just
Nice.
my ADD has been going wild recently, so I just needed to
Use
do,
it
like,
as a
different
weapon.
Stuff. Yes. So I did one of those just as a side quest. If you want to see some other things that I'm working on, I'm going to have a bag of goodies that I'm not going to talk about on air. That I'm going to have new
secrets.
behind the scenes stuff. You got to do the secret handshake. I got to know that you're cool. I need at least 3 references before I can show you that kind of stuff. I'm pretty sure it's booth 218. It's the top left corner if you look on the map. I am
We'll,
right
we'll
next.
find the actual booth number and it'll be in the down below.
Well, I'll be next to LT Wright and Essie, so I got
That's
friends in the
pretty
area.
exciting.
So that's gonna
You
be
couldn't be next to two better guys,
yeah. I
Yeah.
can't wait.
honestly.
I'm pretty sure the Bearded Burton's going to be running the LT
Woohoo!
booth, and Ruben's not going to be at the Essie booth this
I don't
time.
think so.
So I'm going to have to, not pack ciders. I'm still worried about Patrick coming and stealing my beers, but I'll keep an eye on him.
Say
Looking
hi to
forward to it.
everybody for us.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
please do. They're all really good friends. That's the best part, about this industry and all the wonderful companies and stuff we represent. Is it's a big family, even
It
if
is.
it's quote unquote competition. Ethan Becker told me, no matter what, you can still work right alongside the hardest competition in the knife company, and they're still some of your best friends. And
Oh,
it's
there's
so
enough
true.
knife buyers for everybody. That is
Yeah,
the
it's
truth.
true.
Exactly.
When I was doing some of the website work, Swedgers asked me like, "All right, well, who are some of the guys that you would consider your competition?" And I was listing all of them, and he's like, "All right, well, who are some of the guys that you look up to?" I'm like, and it was the same people.
Yeah.
But I'm like, because it's so cool, and it's like I have a relationship with some of them as well. Like LT was one of them, and I'm like, yeah, like the guys at LT is like I would say like yes, technically they would be competition, but I also look up to what they do and we're friends.
Absolutely.
So it's like
Yeah, and they're
very interesting
wonderful.
industry we found ourselves in.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Is it
On
official
that
now?
note,
Should we say
it's
goodbye?
official.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for
Bye.
listening.
Thanks for
Bye.
listening.
Catch you
See
next week.
again.
Pack Band-Aids.
Yeah.